The universe turned on her. Only a human had the courage to fight back. Elara Voss had never thought the universe would turn against her. She had spent her whole life serving as a peacekeeper, traveling from planet to stop wars, to calm disputes, and to save lives. She was not a soldier for fighting, but a soldier for protection. Many species trusted her. Many leaders called her a hero. But now, none of that mattered. The galaxy she had tried so hard to protect had decided she was to blame for a catastrophe that was not her fault. It began quietly, with whispers in the council halls of the oldest star systems. An anomaly had appeared at the edge of a distant sector, a strange ripple in space that swallowed entire planets. 3 star systems had vanished without warning. Scientists called it unpredictable. Historians called it a natural event. But the leaders of the galaxy did not care about truth. They needed someone to blame, and they chose Elara. When the news first reached her, Elara was aboard the Liberty Dawn, a small ship designed for diplomacy, not war. She had been negotiating a trade agreement between 2 rival planets, trying to prevent bloodshed over scarce resources. The messages from the alien councils came in one after another. Each message was colder, harsher than the last. They accused her species of causing the anomaly. They demanded she answer for her crimes. Elara read the words in disbelief. She tried to reply, to explain that she had nothing to do with the disaster, but her messages were ignored or blocked. Soon, ships from allied worlds she had once helped began to appear in orbit around her home system, not as friends, but as hunters. The galaxy she had known, the galaxy she had believed in, was now her enemy. Panic did not come immediately. Elara was trained to stay calm. She knew fear was a weapon the universe often used against those who had to make decisions quickly. Instead, she felt a heavy sadness. Every life she had saved, every treaty she had helped write, every time she had prevented a war, all of it seemed meaningless. The universe had chosen a scapegoat, and she was it. The first attack came without warning. Small ships, fast and silent, emerged from the dark edge of a nearby asteroid field. They fired warning shots, not enough to destroy her ship, but enough to signal that she had nowhere to go. Elara had no choice but to flee. She activated the ship's engines, pushing them to their limits. The chase was long. She flew through asteroid belts, navigated black holes, and jumped through sectors she had never visited. Everywhere she went, she saw the same thing: the galaxy closing in. It was during one of these jumps that Elara realized she could no longer trust the communications networks. Every channel was monitored. Every message she sent was intercepted. Even planets that once welcomed her now closed their doors. Elara felt alone, truly alone for the first time in her life. She had friends in the galaxy, allies who had fought beside her, but they were either captured, silenced, or too afraid to help. She was a fugitive in a universe she had spent years protecting. She landed on a small, rocky moon to repair her ship. The surface was barren, winds of dust blowing across craters. As she worked, she thought about her life, about the choices that had brought her here. She had always believed that helping others was the highest duty. Now she questioned whether the universe itself deserved saving. But even in despair, she refused to give up. She would survive. She had to. Survival was the first step toward justice, even if she had no idea how to achieve it. Elara's repairs were slow. The engines had suffered damage during the chase, and replacement parts were scarce. She scavenged what she could from the moon, using ingenuity rather than resources. She had learned long ago that survival depended on thinking faster than her opponents. When the repairs were finally done, she prepared to leave. She did not know where she would go, only that she could not stay. Staying meant death. Running meant hope. And hope, she realized, was the one thing the universe could not take from her. As she prepared for another jump, Elara felt a presence she did not recognize. A small ship, unlike the military vessels that had hunted her, approached slowly. It was human. An oddity in the sector where most ships were controlled by alien empires. Humans were unpredictable. Their technology was simpler, yes, but their courage often surprised even the oldest species. Alara watched as the small craft hovered near her ship, signaling a request to communicate. She hesitated. After everything, she could not risk trusting anyone. The universe had shown her that kindness could be dangerous, but something in the way the ship moved, the way it lingered without threat, gave her a small flicker of curiosity. She opened a channel. The voice that came through was calm, steady, and human. "Elara Voss?" the man asked. His tone was not accusatory. It was direct, almost simple, like he was speaking to a friend rather than a fugitive. "My name is Caleb Moore. I think you need help." Elara's heart beat faster. Help was a word she had not heard in weeks, maybe months. She studied the readings on her sensors. Caleb's ship was small, lightly armed, and clearly not part of any council fleet. She asked cautiously, "Why? Why would a human help me?" Caleb's voice did not waver. "Because the universe is wrong this time. Because someone has to stand up. Because I know you didn't do it." Elara felt something she had not felt in a long time. Trust, fragile and dangerous. She wanted to doubt him. She wanted to shut the channel and keep running alone. But the universe had taught her one truth above all else. Isolation meant death. She needed allies, even if she had to risk betrayal. She agreed to meet him on a nearby asteroid, a neutral point far from patrol routes. When she landed, Caleb's small ship was waiting. He climbed out quickly, carrying no weapons but a small toolkit, a strange human habit that made little sense to alien species trained for combat at all times. He looked at her with steady eyes and said, "We can fix your ship and get you moving, but you have to trust me." Elara studied him for a long moment. She could see no deceit, no malice. Humans had a strange way of appearing simple even when their actions were complex. She nodded. "All right, but if you betray me, I will not survive this." Caleb smiled faintly. "I wouldn't survive either if I did. We're on the same side." They worked together in silence, repairing the engines, calibrating the navigation, and patching minor structural damage. Elara learned quickly that humans were different in their methods. Caleb relied on instinct as much as knowledge, improvising when parts were missing and taking risks she would have never taken herself. She found it unnerving at first, but also oddly reassuring. Maybe, she thought, hope could come from the most unlikely places. During a brief break, Caleb shared his story. His home planet had been destroyed by the same anomaly the galaxy blamed Elara for. He had watched his family die, his world vanish into nothing, and yet he had survived. He had not blamed anyone, not truly. Instead, he had chosen to fight back against the universe's indifference. Elara listened, amazed at his courage. The human seemed small, fragile, and ordinary. But in his simplicity, he carried a strength she had never seen in any alien leader or council member. As night fell on the barren asteroid, Elara looked at the stars. She had crossed galaxies, survived attacks, and faced betrayal from species she had once trusted. Yet in this human, she saw a spark of something greater than fear. Defiance. Caleb did not care if the universe thought they were wrong. He would act because it was right. It was a strange, almost alien concept to Elara herself, who had spent years obeying rules, following protocols, and trusting authority. When the repairs were done, Elara prepared to leave. She would not stay on the asteroid long. It was too exposed, too close to patrol routes. Caleb offered to accompany her, but she shook her head. "I need to move fast," she said. "You'll only slow me down." Caleb did not argue. Instead, he handed her a small device. "If you're ever in real trouble, activate this." "I'll find you." Elara accepted it, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she did not feel completely alone. The universe had turned on her, yes, but here was a human who would fight by her side. And in that moment she realized something important. Survival was no longer enough. She wanted justice. She wanted truth. And maybe, just maybe, She had found the first person willing to stand with her against the galaxy itself. As she launched back into the stars, Elara watched the asteroid disappear behind her. She did not know what lay ahead, or how many enemies waited in the void, but she knew one thing clearly: she was no longer running alone. And in a universe that had abandoned her, even that small hope was powerful enough to ignite a fire that could not be ignored. Elara Voss had thought running would be enough. She had imagined moving fast, jumping from one sector to another, and somehow staying just ahead of the alien fleets that hunted her. But the galaxy was bigger than she realized, and danger was everywhere. She quickly learned that no matter how far she ran, the universe would not rest. Every jump, every hidden path, brought her closer to fleets that were determined to end her life. After leaving the small asteroid where Caleb had helped her repair the ship, Elara set her course for a remote system known only to traders and smugglers. She chose it because it was off the usual travel lanes and because no council had reason to patrol there. At least, she hoped not. She did not know the system well, only that it had a few abandoned stations and planets rich with resources. If she could hide there, she might gain a moment to think, to plan, and perhaps to breathe. But even as she calculated her route, she felt the weight of pursuit. Alien signals followed her, faint but constant, showing she was being tracked. The ships were fast, smarter than any she had faced before. They adapted, predicted her moves, and pushed her to the limits of her ship's engines. Elara's mind raced as she ran through possibilities. She knew that alone she could not outfight them, but perhaps she could outthink them. Caleb Moore had not been far behind. After she had left the asteroid, he had used his human intuition to anticipate where she might go. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their instincts were sharp. He had watched the signals, studied the patrol patterns, and followed her through jumps that even experienced alien navigators might avoid. Caleb was not just following her because he wanted adventure. He believed in her. He believed that she had been wrongly accused, and he refused to let the universe destroy someone innocent without resistance. Elara did not expect to see him again, yet when she emerged from a jump near the hidden system, Caleb's small ship appeared beside hers. He did not signal her aggressively or demand explanations. He simply hovered. She stared for a long moment, amazed that he had caught up so quickly. Finally, she opened a channel. "Why are you still following me?" she asked, trying to sound annoyed, though relief crept into her voice. "Because no one else will," Caleb replied simply. "And because if you make one mistake, they'll catch you. You're too important to lose to their lies." Elara stared at him. She wanted to protest, to say she could manage on her own, but she knew he was right. She had always relied on strategy, on careful plans, on trust in her allies. Now she had lost most of those allies. Caleb was a wild card, unpredictable, but he was also human, and humans had a strange courage that often surprised the galaxy. They landed on a small planet at the edge of the system. It was rocky, with thin atmosphere and no life besides the scattered dust storms that swept across the surface. Alien ships were easier to detect here because of the open skies. Elara moved quickly to find shelter, and Caleb helped, using tools and tricks that she had never seen before. Humans were inventive in ways that ignored rules and used what others considered useless. She found it unsettling, but she also found it effective. As night fell, Elara and Caleb sat inside a small cave that offered some protection from the dust storms. She cleaned her weapons and tools while Caleb checked the ship's engines again. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with an understanding that words were not always necessary. After a few minutes, Elara spoke. "They will not stop," she said softly. "Everywhere I go, someone wants me dead. Every fleet, every patrol, they all believe I am guilty. It is like the universe itself has turned against me." Caleb looked at her. "Then we will keep moving, and we will fight if we have to. You are not guilty. You didn't cause this. The universe may think it, but it doesn't make it true." Elara felt a strange warmth at his words. She had spent her life defending the innocent, protecting worlds, and now someone was defending her. It was new, almost uncomfortable, but she accepted it. Humans were simple in some ways, yet brilliant in others. Their loyalty was fierce, their courage raw, and Caleb had shown both in his quiet way. The next morning, they set off again. Alara took the controls, navigating the small planet's gravity in the nearby asteroid fields. Caleb assisted, scanning for patrols and suggesting unconventional paths. He did not argue with her, but he did not blindly obey either. He trusted her judgment, but he offered ideas that only a human might consider. Together, they formed an unlikely team. Their first real encounter came sooner than expected. A patrol ship from one of the alien councils appeared near the edge of the system. It was large, fast, and armed with weapons designed to pierce any ship of their size. Alara's instincts screamed at her to run, but she also knew the patrols had superior sensors and speed. "Escape would not be easy. We need to use the asteroid field," Caleb said quickly, pointing to a dense belt nearby. "They won't follow. It's risky, but it could work." Alara nodded. She engaged the engines, weaving through the asteroids with precision. Caleb shouted directions, anticipating moves she might not have considered. Rocks smashed close to the hull. Engines strained, and dust clouds blurred sensors. For a moment, it seemed impossible, but together they managed to slip through. The patrol ship fired, but most shots were deflected or missed entirely. Once clear, Alara allowed herself a breath. She looked at Caleb and smiled faintly. "I thought humans were reckless." "You're not reckless. You're different." Caleb laughed softly. "Different enough to survive." They continued through the system, finding small hiding spots, repairing minor damage, and avoiding every fleet they could detect. Along the way, Alara learned more about Caleb's world. He had grown up on a small colony planet far from the political centers of humanity. He had faced hardship and loss, yet he had learned to adapt, to survive, and to help others when he could. His courage was quiet, not loud or boastful, but it shone through in his actions. As days passed, Alara began to notice a change in herself. Fear still existed, but it was tempered with something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Caleb had shown her that even in a universe that turned against you, someone could stand with you. She began to think more clearly, to plan more carefully, and to take risks she had once avoided. For the first time since the catastrophe, she felt like she had a chance. One evening, as they rested near a small asteroid station, they were confronted by another challenge. A scout ship appeared, smaller than the patrols, fast and aggressive. It fired warning shots and demanded they stop. Alara instinctively raised her shields and prepared to flee, but Caleb held up a hand. "Let me try something," he said. He accessed a small device on his ship and sent out a strange signal, one that confused the scout's sensors. The alien pilot struggled to read their position. Using the moment, Alara executed a sharp maneuver, dodging through debris and escaping the scout's line of sight. The ship's sensors were scrambled, and for the first time she realized humans could fight in ways no other species expected. Afterward, Alara laughed. A small, tired laugh. "I should have known humans would find a way." "Unpredictable. Always unpredictable." Kratos shrugged, grinning. "It works, doesn't it?" They shared a moment of quiet relief. The universe was still against them, still full of hunters and lies, but together they had survived. The bond between them grew stronger with every danger, every risk, and every choice to trust one another. Alara began to plan their next move. The galaxy would not stop hunting her, and she could not simply run forever. She needed allies, evidence, and a way to clear her name. Caleb would be her first human ally, but she knew she needed more. She began to map out sectors where resistance could be found, where hidden intelligence networks operated, and where humans or alien species willing to challenge the councils might be willing to help. For now, though, survival was enough. She and Caleb moved from system to system, avoiding patrols, repairing damage, and learning to rely on each other. She began to trust him, not only as an ally, but as a friend. Humans were strange creatures, and she had underestimated them. But now she understood why they were feared and respected across the galaxy. They acted without fear of judgment, without concern for rules older than stars, and often they acted with courage the galaxy could not match. As the days turned into weeks, Elora realized something remarkable. She had not only survived, but she had also started to hope again. The universe might have turned against her, but humans did not give up, and with Caleb at her side, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy could be faced, challenged, and perhaps even changed. And in the darkness of space, with patrols closing in and danger never far behind, Elora felt something she had not felt in a long time. She was not alone, and she was not powerless. She would fight, she would survive, and with a human by her side, she might even turn the tide of a universe that had declared her guilty. Elora Voss had begun to feel that maybe survival was not impossible. She had Caleb Moore, a human who refused to believe the lies of the galaxy, and together they had avoided patrols, scouts, and hunters. But the universe had a way of testing hope when it was weakest, and Elora was about to discover just how dangerous persistence could be. They moved from system to system, using hidden routes that only smugglers and outlaws knew. Elora had always been careful, precise, and logical, but Caleb added something different: intuition. He saw paths and patterns she would have never noticed. Together they could escape almost any threat, yet Elora knew the galaxy would not give them unlimited chances. One morning as they approached a remote mining planet, Elora noticed strange signals on the sensors, small erratic bursts of communication, encrypted in a way that only advanced intelligence could use. Alien patrols were not responsible. Their signals were too organized, too deliberate. Someone else was watching. Someone else knew where they were. "What is it?" Caleb asked, leaning over the navigation console. His eyes were sharp, scanning patterns that might have been invisible to anyone else. "I'm not sure," Ella replied. "It's a signal, but it's not from a patrol. Someone is tracking us, but carefully. Almost. Waiting." Caleb frowned. Waiting for what? Elora did not answer. She did not want to think about it. The universe had turned against her once. She could not afford to underestimate it again. She prepared the ship for a quick jump, but before she could move, another ship emerged from behind an asteroid. This one was smaller than a patrol, sleek and fast, clearly designed for one purpose: capture. "They know we're here," Elora said. Her voice was steady, but her hands moved quickly. She activated the shields and armed the defensive systems. Caleb's voice was calm. "Let me try something first. It's risky." Elora looked at him. He had a habit of taking risks, and usually they worked. She nodded. "Go ahead." Caleb accessed a small device from his toolkit and sent out a signal that scrambled the approaching ship's sensors. It worked partially. The alien pilot struggled to track them, missing timing and position. Elora used the distraction to jump through a narrow path of asteroids. Rocks and debris hammered against their ship, but they slipped through, leaving the scout behind. "Humans really are unpredictable," Elora said, exhaling. "I still don't know if that's a compliment or a warning." Caleb laughed softly. "Both, probably, but it works." They landed on the mining planet, hiding their ship in an abandoned cavern. Elora spent hours repairing minor damage from the jump, while Caleb tried to analyze the mysterious signal they had encountered. He had never seen technology like it. It was old, older than many known civilizations, but advanced in its encryption. Someone was intelligent, patient, and clearly interested in them. "Who do you think it is?" Elora asked. Caleb shook his head. "I don't know yet, but whoever it is, they're not just watching. They want something from you." Elora frowned. "And if I refuse, then they'll come again, and maybe next time we won't be so lucky," Caleb said. For the first time in weeks, Elora felt fear creep into her chest. She had survived alien fleets, patrols, and hunts, but now the threat was not obvious. It was hidden, intelligent, and patient. The universe was testing her resolve, and she realized she could not do it alone. She needed allies, information, and a plan. They spent the next few days gathering supplies, hiding their ship, and observing the mining planet. Caleb showed Alara human ways of blending in, using simple camouflage and avoiding sensors. He explained that humans were often underestimated because they appeared fragile, but their survival instincts were sharp. Alara admired his ability to adapt, even under pressure. On the third night, they made contact. A small, cloaked ship approached silently, landing just outside the cavern. A figure emerged, humanoid, but not human. Its skin was pale with faint markings, and its eyes were dark, intelligent, and calculating. It carried no weapons but walked with confidence, as if it knew the universe better than anyone else. "Alara Voss," the figure said. Its voice was calm, almost smooth, but carried authority. "I have been watching you. The galaxy has accused you unjustly. Yet you survive. Impressive." Alara did not lower her guard. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Leora," the figure replied. "I come from a faction hidden from the councils, a group that values truth above all else. We have watched the councils lie, cheat, and kill to preserve their power. We believe you are innocent. More than that, we believe you can change things." Caleb stepped forward, wary but steady. "And what do you want from her?" Leora looked at him and smiled faintly. "We want to help her. And if she accepts, you can help too." Alara studied Leora. She had never trusted easily, not after the councils had turned on her. But something in Leora's calm presence, her precise movements, and her careful words suggested honesty. Alara had learned long ago to sense danger, and she sensed this was not a trap, at least not yet. "Why help me?" Alara asked. "Why risk yourself?" "Because some of us remember what it is to be innocent," Leora said. "Because some of us remember justice. Because the galaxy needs someone to stand against its lies, and we believe you can be that someone." Alara felt a flicker of hope. For weeks, she had been alone, hunted, and blamed. Now, here was someone offering help. But she also knew the universe rarely gave gifts without cost. "What's the catch?" she asked. Leora smiled faintly. "No catch. Only truth. But the truth is dangerous. If you accept our help, the councils will notice. They will send more fleets. They will try to stop you at every turn. Your life will never be simple again." Alara looked at Caleb. His expression was calm, resolute. She realized then that she did not care. Simple life was gone the day the galaxy blamed her for the anomaly. She had no choice but to act, to fight, and to survive. "We accept," she said. "Both of us." Leora nodded and led them to the small ship, showing them a hidden communication network older than most civilizations. Here, the Council's lies could be traced, messages intercepted, and evidence gathered. Alara felt a strange sense of empowerment. For the first time, she had a chance to fight back not just for survival, but for truth. Over the next days, they worked together. Caleb learned to navigate alien communications, adapting human ingenuity to decode messages, track fleets, and anticipate patrols. Alara focused on strategy, using her experience as a peacekeeper to plan moves, gather allies, and prepare for what was ahead. Leora guided them, sharing knowledge that was hidden from most species. As they worked, Alara began to understand the strength of human spirit. Caleb was fearless, not because he was strong, but because he refused to let fear control him. He challenged her to think differently, to take risks she would have never considered, and to act when hesitation could mean death. She admired his courage, and she began to rely on him more than she had expected. One day, while scanning intercepted transmissions, they discovered a council plan to ambush her at a remote star system. The fleet was large, heavily armed, and prepared to destroy anything in its path. Alara's first instinct was fear, but Caleb placed a hand on her shoulder. "We can beat them," he said simply. "If we act smart, if we use what we know, we can survive. Not by hiding, but by outthinking them." Alara studied the fleet's movements, the patrol routes, and the communication delays. She realized he was right. Humans saw possibilities others overlooked. Together, they formulated a plan that relied on speed, deception, and precise timing. It was risky, but Elora no longer feared risk itself. She feared only failure, and now she had a way to prevent it. As night fell over their hidden base, Elora looked at the stars. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unforgiving. Fleets would chase them. Hunters would try to kill them, and the councils would never stop until she was dead or silenced. Yet, for the first time, Elora felt ready. She had allies, resources, and a human who refused to give up. She had hope. And hope, she realized, could be as powerful as any weapon in the galaxy. Caleb sat beside her, quiet but alert, eyes scanning the sensors even in rest. Elora thought about how much she had learned from him, about courage, unpredictability, and trust. Humans were simple, yes, but in their simplicity was strength. Strength that could survive against impossible odds. Strength that could defy a universe that had turned against you. Leora entered the room silently, her presence calm and commanding. "We have enough information now," she said. "Enough to strike at the Council's lies, but the galaxy will notice soon. You must be ready for what comes next. The real fight is only beginning." Elora nodded. She had already known this, deep in her heart. The councils would never stop. The universe had turned against her. But now she had a choice, run forever or fight back. She would fight. With Caleb by her side, she would stand, and she would prove the universe wrong. The three of them worked late into the night, preparing strategies, mapping fleets, and coordinating resources. Ella realized that survival alone was no longer the goal. She wanted justice. She wanted truth. And she wanted to make sure the galaxy understood that one innocent life was worth more than any council's lies. As she stared into the stars, she felt a new determination. The universe might have turned on her, but she was not defeated. She had Caleb, a human with courage, and Leora, an ally who understood hidden truths. Together, they would face the galaxy's hunters, and they would fight back. And in that moment, Era knew something she had not felt since the catastrophe. She was ready for the storm. Era Voss had spent weeks planning. Every move, every jump, every hidden route had been calculated with precision. Now, it was time to act. The galaxy's councils had grown confident, believing she was cornered, that she could never escape, and that their fleets controlled the stars. They were wrong. She had Caleb Moore, a human who never gave up, and Leora, who had knowledge of hidden networks. Together they had a plan to strike back, to show that the universe could be challenged, and to prove the councils wrong. They began by sending false transmissions. Elora had learned the councils relied heavily on predictable communication. She and Caleb crafted messages that made it seem as if she would appear in one system while secretly moving through another. The councils, confident in their power, took the bait. Fleets moved toward the false signals, leaving gaps elsewhere. Elora felt a thrill she had not felt since before the anomaly. For the first time, she was not just surviving. She was controlling the game. Caleb worked alongside her, quickly adapting to her strategies and adding human intuition that Elora had come to trust. He suggested small changes in timing, routes, and jumps that no council member would expect. "Humans are too unpredictable for them," he said, smiling as he made the final adjustments to their plan. Elora nodded, realizing he was right. Unpredictability was a weapon, one that few species could use effectively. The first move was subtle. They sent a small, unmanned probe into a sector controlled by one of the largest fleets hunting her. The probe carried false data about her location and ship type. The fleet responded immediately, sending ships to intercept what they thought was Elora. Meanwhile, she and Caleb slipped through a narrow corridor of asteroids, avoiding patrols that had once seemed impossible to evade. "They think they are ahead," Elora whispered. "But we are already in position." Caleb nodded, eyes scanning the sensors. "Let's make sure they stay fooled." They emerged into open space near a cluster of hidden stations known only to traders and smugglers. Airless ship was small, fast, and lightly armed, but that was enough. She had never relied on brute force alone. Strategy, timing, and quick thinking had always been her strongest weapons. Caleb understood this instinctively, and together they made a perfect team. Their next move was bold. They needed to strike at the Council's communication network, the system that allowed fleets to coordinate attacks against her. Without it, the fleets would be blind and unorganized. Elora plotted a course to a hidden relay station, one used by the Councils but never fully protected because they believed no one would find it. She knew they would notice if she approached directly, so she planned to use the asteroid fields as cover and approach from a vector they would not expect. As they neared the station, alarms blared in Elara's sensors. The Councils had detected some anomaly, though not her exact location. Patrol ships began converging on the area. Elara felt the familiar rush of fear, but it was tempered with determination. She had prepared for this moment, and failure was not an option. "Caleb, are the decoys in place?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, fingers moving quickly over the controls. "They're taking the bait. Patrols are moving toward the false signals." "We have a window." Elora nodded. She pushed the ship forward, weaving through asteroids and using every trick she had learned over years of being hunted. The Council station loomed ahead, massive and intimidating. Shields and weapons systems covered every angle. But Elara was not here to fight with guns alone. She had a plan. Caleb watched in awe as she maneuvered. "You really do think like a human now," he said. "Risk and timing, not just power." Elora smiled faintly. "And humans are fearless when it matters." They reached the station and deployed a small device designed to interfere with communications. It hummed quietly, sending out signals that disrupted the Council networks, scrambling messages and causing confusion among the fleets. Ships that had been hunting her paused, recalculated, and sent messages that went nowhere. The Councils were blind, at least for a moment. "We have them," Elora whispered. "Now we move." They used the confusion to jump to a nearby sector where another Council fleet waited. Smaller but well-armed. Elara could have avoided it, but she had a different plan. She wanted to show the galaxy that she was not powerless, that the universe could be challenged. She wanted to take the fight to those who believed they controlled her fate. Caleb looked at her, surprise and concern in his eyes. "You really want to engage?" "Not directly," she said. "We will outthink them, not outgun them." Using the asteroid fields and hidden routes, Elara's ship moved like a shadow through the sector, avoiding direct fire while striking communication nodes and supply ships. Fleets scrambled to respond, but every move they made was anticipated. Caleb guided her through paths that alien pilots would never dare, using simple human intuition combined with her experience. Together, they dismantled part of the fleet's coordination without risking direct confrontation. After hours of careful maneuvers, they jumped out of the sector, leaving confusion and chaos behind. The Council fleets were alive but disorganized, communication lines fractured, and their confidence shaken. Elora felt a rush of satisfaction she had not experienced since before the anomaly. For the first time, she realized that survival alone was not enough. She could strike back. She could fight for truth. She could challenge the galaxy itself. Caleb grinned. "We did it. They won't know what hit them." Elora nodded, though her mind was already moving ahead. "It's only the beginning. They will regroup. They will come after us stronger. We need more allies, more information, and more strategies." "We cannot let them recover so easily." Leora appeared beside them, calm as ever. "The Councils are shaken. You have shown that one individual with courage and skill can disrupt their plans. But now, they will target everything connected to you. You must be ready for retaliation." Elara understood immediately. The universe was turning its gaze upon her, yes, but she had proven that she was not powerless. She had disrupted fleets, broken communications, and survived against impossible odds. The galaxy would take notice, and the Councils would not forgive such humiliation. As they rested in a hidden station, Elora and Caleb went over every move they had made, every risk, and every success. Caleb had learned to anticipate her thinking, and she had begun to trust his instincts completely. Together, they were not just surviving, they were becoming a force the galaxy could not ignore. "They will come back," Caleb said quietly, almost to himself. "Bigger, stronger, faster," Elora nodded. "And we will be ready. We have allies, information, and strategy. We have hope. And hope is stronger than any fleet they can send." The days passed quickly as they prepared for the inevitable retaliation. Elora worked on strategies, Leora gathered intelligence, and Caleb fine-tuned their tactics. Each day brought new threats, but also new confidence. They were not alone. They had each other, and together they could face anything. One night, as Elora watched the stars, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. The galaxy had turned against her, blamed her for a disaster she did not cause, and hunted her relentlessly. Yet here she was, planning a strike against fleets that had once seemed invincible. She felt a quiet pride not in herself but in the courage of those who had stood with her, especially the human, who refused to give up. Caleb sat beside her, eyes scanning the starfield. "You know," he said, "most humans would have run a long time ago. You've been running for weeks, months even, and still fighting. That's impressive." Elora smiled faintly. "You humans are unpredictable. Sometimes I think your courage comes from not knowing fear the way others do. Maybe that's why you survive." He laughed softly. "Or maybe we just refuse to let the universe decide our fate."
Elora nodded.
She realized he was right. The universe might have turned against her, but she had a choice. She could continue running, hiding, and hoping to survive, or she could fight back, challenge the councils, and show that even a single individual supported by courage, intelligence, and determination could make a difference. And that was exactly what she intended to do. The next morning, they began preparations for their next move. Intelligence from Leora's networks indicated that the councils were regrouping, repairing communication lines, and planning retaliation. Elora knew that time was short. If they delayed, the opportunity to strike effectively would be lost. She and Caleb spent hours planning jumps, escape routes, and strategies that relied on speed, surprise, and careful deception. Every move was calculated, every risk considered, and every contingency planned. Finally, with all preparations complete, they set off. Elora's ship moved like a shadow through the sector, fast and precise. Caleb guided her through asteroid fields, narrow channels, and hidden routes that alien fleets would never expect. They approached the Council's primary communication hub, the heart of the fleet's coordination, and prepared to strike. Elora took a deep breath. This was it, their first major offensive, the first step in showing the galaxy that she was not powerless. The universe might have turned against her, but she would not be defeated. With Caleb by her side, and Lyra's guidance, she would fight back, disrupt the councils, and prove that even one person, with courage and intelligence, could challenge the stars themselves. The moment was tense, the stars silent around them. Elara's hands moved over the controls, precise and steady. Caleb's eyes scanned the sensors, anticipating every threat. Together, they were ready. Together, they were unstoppable. And as the fleet waited, unaware of the approaching shadow, Elara whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning. We will show the universe that truth, courage, and hope cannot be destroyed." Elara Voss had faced nearly every danger the galaxy could throw at her. Fleets, patrols, hunters, and the councils themselves had all tried to end her life. For weeks, she had run, hiding in shadowed systems, dodging attacks, and relying on her wits. Now, with Caleb Moore at her side and Leora guiding them, she was no longer running. She was ready to fight, not just for survival, but for truth, justice, and to show the galaxy that it had been wrong to turn against her. The councils had finally realized the extent of their mistake. Their fleets had been disrupted, their communication networks crippled, and their confidence shaken. Elara knew they would come for her with everything they had. The galaxy would try to punish her, to prove that she could be destroyed. But she had allies, knowledge, and strategy. She would not let them succeed. Elara and Caleb gathered the intelligence they had collected from Leora's network. They had tracked fleet movements, communication hubs, and council command centers. They had identified weak points, areas where fleets were vulnerable, and systems where deception could work. Elara felt a surge of hope. For the first time, she had a real chance to challenge the councils, to fight back with more than just survival instinct. "We need to strike fast," Elara said, her voice steady. "If we wait, they will repair their networks and rebuild their fleets. We have a small window. One chance." Caleb nodded. "Then we take it." Together, they plotted a course to the central command hub of one of the largest councils. The hub controlled fleets across multiple sectors and coordinated attacks against her. If they could disrupt it, the fleets would be disorganized, confused, and vulnerable. Elara knew the risk. The hub was heavily defended, with shields, weapons, and patrols at every angle. But she also knew it could be done with careful planning, speed, and precision. As they approached the system, Elara reviewed every step of the plan. Caleb had prepared decoys, communication scrambles, and false signals. Leora had provided intelligence on fleet positions, patrol schedules, and weaknesses in the hub's defenses. Together, they had created a strategy that relied on surprise, deception, and timing. It was dangerous, but Elara trusted it, and she trusted Caleb. "Ready?" she asked. Caleb gave a small smile. "As ready as we'll ever be." They entered the system, moving through asteroid fields and hidden channels that few ships could navigate. Alien patrols scanned the area, but Caleb's decoys drew them away from Elara's ship. She felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her hands steady on the controls. Every maneuver had been calculated, every risk considered. Failure was not an option. The command hub appeared ahead, massive and imposing. Shields glowed around it, weapons swiveled to track approaching ships, and sensors scanned for threats. Elara took a deep breath and activated the disruption device. Small drones detached from her ship, moving silently toward the hub. They carried signals that scrambled communications, disabled defense protocols, and created confusion among the council fleets. "Now!" she whispered to Caleb. They moved quickly, weaving through the chaos of disrupted fleets, using the confusion to strike at supply lines and critical points within the hub. Ships that had once seemed invincible were caught off guard, their coordination broken. Elara felt a rush of determination. She was no longer fleeing. She was shaping the battlefield. Caleb guided her through narrow passages, anticipating enemy movements and suggesting daring maneuvers that defied logic. Elara followed his lead, trusting his instincts completely. Together they struck with precision, hitting the hub where it was weakest. Shields faltered, communications failed, and the fleets became disorganized. For the first time, Elara realized she was not powerless. She could change the course of events. "We're almost there," she said, eyes fixed on the hub. Caleb nodded. Just a little further. They reached the core of the command hub, a massive control center where the council coordinated attacks and issued orders. Elara deployed a final device, one that would disable the hub's systems temporarily, giving them time to escape before retaliation. Alarms blared, lights flashed, and the council fleet scrambled in confusion. Elara felt a surge of triumph. The hub was crippled, the fleets disrupted, and the councils humiliated. "We did it," Caleb said, a wide grin on his face. "They won't recover quickly." Elara allowed herself a brief smile, but she knew the fight was not over. The galaxy would respond. The councils would rebuild, hunt her again, and attempt to silence anyone who opposed them. But for the first time, she had proven something important. The universe could be challenged, and one person, with courage and allies, could make a difference. They retreated from the system, moving quickly to a hidden sector. Leora guided them to a safe station where they could rest, repair, and plan the next steps. Elara felt exhaustion settle in, but also a sense of accomplishment. She had faced fleets, danger, and betrayal, yet she had survived, and more than that, she had struck back. As they rested, Caleb spoke quietly. "You've changed, Elara. You're not just surviving anymore. You're leading, planning, fighting! The universe might hate you, but you're proving it wrong." Elara looked at him, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Humans, you teach courage in ways I never understood before. It's not about power. It's about refusing to give up." Caleb smiled. "We learn from each other. That's how we survive. That's how we win." They spent days repairing the ship, analyzing intelligence, and preparing for possible retaliation. Elara realized the galaxy had underestimated humans and underestimated her. The councils had assumed she would hide, flee, and eventually be destroyed. Instead, she had fought back, disrupted fleets, and shown that courage, intelligence, and determination could defy even the most powerful forces in the universe. One evening, as they watched the stars, Elara reflected on how far she had come. She had been blamed for a catastrophe, hunted by the galaxy, and left alone in the void. Yet, here she was, not just surviving, but leading, planning, and fighting back. She had Caleb, a human who refused to give up, and Leora, a guide who knew the hidden truths of the galaxy. Together they were more than survivors. They were a force. "What now?" Caleb asked. Ella considered. The councils would strike back, that was certain. But she had plans, allies, and knowledge they did not. "We continue," she said firmly. "We prepare, we strike when necessary, and we never stop. The galaxy may hate us, but we will show that truth, courage, and hope cannot be destroyed." Caleb nodded. "I'm with you. Always." And in that moment, Elara felt a deep sense of purpose. The universe had turned against her, yes, but she had found courage, allies, and hope. The councils could try to destroy her, but they could not destroy the truth. They could not destroy the human spirit, the courage that Caleb represented, or the determination she now carried. The galaxy would not forget what had happened. Fleets had been disrupted, councils humiliated, and one innocent life had fought back and survived. Elara knew the universe would continue to challenge her, but she was no longer afraid. She had learned that even in a galaxy that turned against you, courage, hope, and truth could stand against the stars themselves. And as they prepared to move once more, jumping to a hidden sector far from patrols, Elara whispered to herself, "The universe may turn against me, but I will not stop. I will survive, I will fight, and I will show them that one person with courage can change everything." Caleb smiled beside her. "Then let's make sure they remember that lesson." Elara nodded, feeling a fire ignite within her. Together, they would continue the fight. The councils could rebuild, fleets could regroup, and the galaxy could try to silence them. But she had already learned the most important truth. Survival was not enough. To stand, to fight, and to protect what was right was the only way forward. And with that thought, Elara Voss, the human Caleb Moore, and Leora, the guide of hidden knowledge, prepared to face the next challenge. The universe had turned against her, but she would not stop. She would fight, survive, and prove that courage and hope were stronger than any fleet, any council, or any force in the stars. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Elara felt a quiet determination. The journey had been long, dangerous, and lonely, but it was far from over. Together, they would continue, defying the galaxy, facing every threat, and showing that one person with courage and allies could challenge the universe itself, and perhaps even change it.